Hey y'all, welcome back to Open Hanger Workshop, and today we're going to be talking about the top tools that I recommend for beginner woodworkers. All right, and this is not an all-inclusive comprehensive list. This is a basic down and dirty list of tools you need to get started from my point of view, based on what I started with. But I would highly encourage you to start off with smaller tools and less tools so that you can learn the basics, get down to what it really takes to be a woodworker before you start kind of upgrading all of your tools to be more efficient and time saving and much easier to do a particular job. So let's dive right in and get to what I recommend for beginner woodworkers to start with. All right. So first on that list is going to be a sander. A sander is an essential part of any woodworking shop. It is not something you want to cheap out on or anything like that, but I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a $500-600 sander or anything like that. This DeWalt has served me incredibly well for the last 2 years, and I have no intentions of getting rid of it anytime soon. This thing has been a workhorse and an absolute beast in my shop. I beat this thing to death, and it has stood up to everything I've put it through. This one is not the variable speed just because I don't find the variable speed to be necessary in my particular shop, but if you feel like you want to get the variable speed, certainly do that. This one runs about $80-ish, not on sale. I got mine on sale. I think I paid around $55 or $60, so if you want to wait till it goes on sale, you can get it a little bit cheaper. And on the note of sanding, don't skimp out on your sandpaper either. This 3M Cubitron sandpaper is fantastic. Spend a little bit of extra money, get the 3M Cubitron. It lasts longer and it does a way better job of sanding when it comes to bigger projects and things like that. All right. Next on our list is an essential for woodworkers. All right. This is something you can really never have enough of, and that is clamps. Clamps are going to be your best friend when it comes to woodworking. I recommend starting with F-style clamps and squeeze clamps. Now, as you get more into your woodworking journey and you figure out things you want to build, things that you maybe need to build for clients, should you have them, so you decide to make this into more of a kind of side hustle or even a full-time business that you want to do. But to start with, squeeze clamps, one of your best friends. These are great because I can hold two pieces together. I can take this piece, hold them together, and while I'm doing that, I can do this right here. I can just squeeze this together, and just like that, those are clamped together, not going anywhere, not coming apart or anything like that. All right? Very simple to use. Now, if I have F-style clamps, these work just fine to clamp these together. However, it is a little more cumbersome to try to get them on here to be able to stay together. It is a little bit harder to do this with one hand. Squeeze clamps are great for that. Now, F-style clamps come in very handy when you're doing other things in your woodworking journey. So let's assume that I'm trying to put all 5 of these or all 6 of these pieces together. Take this, move it, put it back together. You're just going to tighten this down just like this. Now you've got all of these pieces clamped together just like that. These are the 2 types of clamps I would highly recommend you start with, and as needed, upgrade and get different clamps like pipe clamps or little ratchet clamps like this. These are not ones that, like I said, I would recommend you need right off the bat, but they are definitely helpful later on in your woodworking journey. I recommend the 12-inch, 6-inch, maybe the 18-inch, and even maybe the 36-inch that I currently have, the Jorgensen brand. But the Harbor Freight does great up to about 18 inches. Past about 18 inches, I would kind of steer more towards your higher-end brands like Jorgensen or Bessie. But Harbor Freight does great on your smaller end F-style clamps. I've had these for a few years now, and these things have held up just fine. I've had no issues with them at all. And then the Irwin quick clamps for the squeeze clamps are awesome. I never had any issues. In fact, I probably need more of them. I have like 8 or 10 of them now, and I need more. All right, so definitely look into that. Next on our list is going to be the brad nailer. If you do not already have an air compressor, don't go out and buy one just to be able to use a brad nailer. Get a battery-powered brad nailer. It works great. It does a great job of driving those nails in. I've never had any issues with it not driving nails in to a particular piece. I don't use this as much as I used to, just because I've gotten better with my joinery and all of that kind of stuff. But in the beginning, this thing was an essential for me. I needed this thing all the time with my projects. And the Ryobi one does accept all kinds of different lengths up to about, I'd say probably 2 inches, maybe a little more than that, but you'll never have to worry about it being more than 2 inches really on your woodworking projects. You can usually get these for around $100, give or take, if you're already on the battery platform. If you're not already on the battery platform, maybe you might be able to get the deal where you get it for about 120, 130 with the battery and the charger. Look for that. Definitely at Home Depot especially. You can usually get this for $130 with the battery and charger. And then these little F-style clamps, the 12-inch ones at Harbor Freight, I believe are maybe $5 or $6, and the 6-inch ones are maybe $4. So get a bunch of those to start with, and then build your collection from there. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something you probably already have. Most people have this in their shop, or in their garage at least, already. So if you already have them, don't go out and buy a whole new set just because you're starting a new thing. Use the ones you have until they really just don't work anymore. I had a different set before, but I did upgrade just because the set I have now is now more compact, more efficient, better on battery life, all that good stuff that makes my shop a little bit more efficient for me. But in the beginning, the other set was awesome. It never had any issues at all. Never had any problems with it. In fact, I still alternate with them sometimes when I need two different drills. So, drill and driver. These are definitely an essential part, not something you'll use every single project, but definitely something you will need in your woodworking journey. I recommend the DeWalt 20-volt atomic brushless line. Personally, I've had this in my shop for a couple of months now, and I absolutely love this thing because, one, of how compact it is. You're looking at maybe just over 6 inches from front to back on this, which is a huge saver from the other one that I had that was closer to about 8 or 9 inches. So you're definitely saving a lot of space there. And then also, it's just more efficient on the batteries because it's brushless, and it just doesn't take as much power to get the same amount of power out of it. So definitely, if you don't already have one, I would highly recommend the atomic brushless from DeWalt. But if you already have a drill and driver, use that. Keep using it until you run it into the ground. Keep using it as long as you can. All right. Next thing is maybe kind of obvious, but you never know. And that's glue. Glue. Something you will definitely need in the beginning of your woodworking journey. Now, later on down the line, as you get into some more complex joinery and all of that kind of stuff, you may not always need glue because you've learned that joinery can hold stuff together without glue. But in the beginning, for sure, you will need glue to hold things together, to help you with your joinery and all that kind of stuff. And I still use this today. I just have not mastered complex joinery to the extent that I can be without glue in my shop. You don't have to go out and buy the glue bottle or anything like that, anything fancy like that. This thing's about $8 or $9, I think, maybe 10. This thing is great. I love it, but it is not absolutely necessary. Go out, buy a bottle of Type Bond or whatever wood glue you decide to use. I highly recommend Titebond though, just because of the reputation it has and the durability that it has that I've seen in my shop personally. Because I have seen that thing be able to hold together 2 mitered corners from being able to pull them apart completely. I had to get a hammer to be able to pull stuff apart. All right, so it definitely has the durability that you're going to need in your woodworking projects. Now, we've already seen a good amount of stuff on this list. I've still got a few more things that I want to go through, though. Next thing is going to be this bad boy. Circular saw. Now, some of you are going to look at me kind of funny when I say this. That's okay. I'm going to explain. A circular saw has so many functions in the beginning, especially because you more than likely are not going to have a miter saw right off the bat. This can do most things that a miter saw needs to do. Can it do everything? No, but can it do most things, and you can kind of supplement other things to be able to do that? Yes. So this, you use a straight edge. If you have a straight edge, and you can even get an attachment to make this into a track saw should you need to, if you're cutting down a lot of sheet goods or anything like that. I have never personally done that just because I don't cut down a ton of sheet goods in my shop. It's not something I do on a regular basis. So I've never really seen the need to invest in an attachment or even a full-blown track saw. If I had, some extra money or something like that, would I invest in it? Maybe, yeah, because it is kind of a nice tool for that one, those couple of one-offs that you need something like that for. But a circular saw can cut angles, it can cut bevels, it can cut down sheets of plywood, sheets of sheet goods, whatever it is that you need to do with it, it can probably get the job done. In fact, I used this as my only saw for about 6 or 8 months when I first started. I did not have a miter saw, I didn't have a table saw, I didn't have any other saw except the circular saw. And I was making a ton of cornhole boards with just this. And was it the most accurate? Was it the most efficient way to do it? Absolutely not. But did it get the job done in a manner that looked nice and I was proud of it? Absolutely. Can I make them better now? Sure. But this gets the job done in the beginning of your woodworking journey. You can do a lot of things with this. It's very multi-capable and something you will find to be useful even after you upgrade into a miter saw and a table saw and all these other things. It's still a useful thing to have around your shop for other purposes. So definitely pick up one of those. So next thing, this is going to be odd, is a level. You're going to need a level for the next thing I'm going to tell you about. The level comes in very, very handy on a table saw, which you'll see here in a minute. And a level comes in very handy on that table saw when you are jointing boards. If you need to joint boards and you don't have a jointer, which most people don't, in the beginning especially, this comes in incredibly handy, especially a 4-foot one or even a little bit longer if you can. Because on that table saw back there, I've done tabletops, I've done clocks, I've done American flags, all of which have boards that need to be joined together and cutting boards. This thing is my best friend when it comes to that. So pick up one of these if you're getting a table saw especially, but even if you're not, this comes in handy across the entire shop if you're needing to maybe level a table or level a project. Whatever you're doing, it still comes in handy on the regular. All right, and the next thing is going to be relatively obvious, and most of you probably know this, is tape measure. Now, you can go pick up a tape measure at pretty much any hardware store, or really any store in general, probably. But I highly recommend the FastCap brand because it is a lefty-righty tape measure. So whichever side you need to pull from, so if I need to pull from the left or I need to pull from the right, I can see the numbers not upside down either way. All right, so that is a huge help, let me tell you, when it comes to a lot of things. Home Depot. So I would definitely recommend getting one of these, or truthfully probably 2 or 3 of them. I have about 3 floating around my shop in different places because I go through them so often I can't figure out where they are. But, and then the last thing I do want to put on this list is a speed square. Now, some of you are going to look at this and be like, oh, it's plastic. Oh, that's not going to hold up. This thing has been in my shop for 3 years and has held up just as well as every other square I have. All right. So you take this, you buy it, or actually at the store, truthfully, take a square that you know for a fact is square, and you put it on here. That is dead square. It doesn't get any more square than that right there. Now, this is from Taylor Tools. Highly recommend their products. They have fantastic products, always dead on, always dead square. They are machinist square, so they are absolutely fantastic. And they're not really overly priced either. They're actually a really good price for what they are. You can get that square, I think, for around maybe 15, 20 bucks. So if you want to pick one of those up, definitely do that. I would highly recommend you do that just so you can check and make sure things are square when you're making projects. But this thing is absolutely invaluable when you are cutting with a circular saw across different pieces, because that circular saw can ride right here along that edge, and you know it's going to be square as long as that circular saw stays on that edge, it's going to be square, right? So pick one of these up. You can get them pretty cheap at like Harbor Freight. That one's from Harbor Freight, and it's a dead square. No issues with it at all holding up or anything like that. Pick one of them up for about maybe 10 bucks, if that. All right, so we're here at the table saw. Now, why do I put the table saw on this list of woodworking tools to start with as beginner, but not miter saw? I'm going to tell you. Because table saws, I can build jigs for this thing to do pretty much anything a miter saw can do for the most part. There are functions that a miter saw is a little bit better for, in my opinion. But when you're starting out, table saw or miter saw, definitely go with table saw, because there are so many jigs you can build to go on your table saw to take the place of a miter saw for the most part. And your circular saw can probably do just about everything else you need it to. Table saw, definitely put it on the list if you're going to be starting your woodworking journey. You invest the money, spend the little bit extra to get the Metabo or even a DeWalt or something like that. Don't go cheap, or if you want to even step it up just a little bit and go to a Delta, the Delta compact contractor saw, which is, I think at Lowe's right now is about $6.99. You can step it up even to that. I don't recommend you start off with anything crazy like a cabinet style saw. It's not necessary for you at this point, but if you want to step up, just go to a Delta contractor saw, in my opinion. So that's the basic set of tools that I recommend for beginner woodworkers. Is it an absolute comprehensive list? No. Is it a good start to get you started on a woodworking journey? Absolutely. Because you can do a lot of woodworking projects with just the tools I just laid out. And even including the table saw, you could probably go to the hardware store and get everything on that list for under $800. And for getting started on something as cool as woodworking is a pretty good price, in my opinion. And even if you upgraded a couple of things in there to a little bit nicer brand or something like that to start off with, you could probably still stay under $1,000. Definitely stay under $1,000. There are, like I said, there are other things on the list of things I could get into, but I could keep adding to that list for hours and hours and hours. But they're things that you don't necessarily have to have when you're starting out. These are the tools that are, in my opinion, essential to a woodworking shop in the beginning. When you're just starting out and you're getting used to tools, you're getting used to woodworking, you're getting used to how wood works with different tools and all that kind of stuff. So if you like this video and you want to see more of this type of content, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified of all of our new content. And I hope y'all have a fantastic New Year's and fantastic Christmas. And we'll see you next time here at Open Hanger Workshop.